Climate change is an ever-increasing threat to our world, and it is largely due to human actions. While climate change is a multifaceted issue with complicated solutions, there are many things that we can do on an individual level to help lessen our carbon footprint. One thing is to properly dispose of food waste. Food waste refers to any food that is grown but not eaten. Food waste can occur at any time in the supply chain, from farmer to post-harvest to processing to market to consumer, and the percentage of food waste created during each stage varies by country. While food is a biodegradable waste, it can produce greenhouse gases when not disposed of properly. We throw our food away wrapped in plastic bags, which get sent to landfills where they get piled under more plastic bags. Trapped in layers of plastic with no airflow, food waste cannot decompose properly, and instead it produces methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas that is about 28 times better at trapping heat than carbon dioxide. And according to the EPA, 34% of methane emissions in the US come from landfills. Not only does disposing food waste in plastic garbage bags emit methane, but it also prevents the nutrients from food from ever returning to the soil. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, 30% of food is wasted globally, and this waste contributes to 8% of total global greenhouse gas emissions. Cutting down on food waste can have an enormous impact on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. A model done by Project Drawdown concluded that the worldwide composting can reduce emissions by 2.3 billion tons over the next 30 years. Luckily, there are many things we can do to help mitigate this problem. Changing our individual behaviors can make a big difference in decreasing food waste. Here are 3 things we can do. Try to plan your meals ahead of time and always make a grocery list before you go shopping. Know how long foods typically last and try to eat perishable items first before they go bad. This helps to eliminate the amount of food that you throw out without eating. 2. Use up every part of the food you buy. There are many fun recipes you can find for cooking carrot tops, cauliflower leaves, and other parts of food that you may normally throw out. Remember to always research what is safe to consume. Of course, it is inevitable that you will have some food waste. Whether it's food that has gone bad or parts of foods that you really can't eat, like pineapple tops or banana peels, there will always be some food waste. By composting, which is number 3, we can properly dispose of this food waste to ensure that it doesn't contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. There are many ways to compost your food waste. Some are complicated and some not so much. I will also go over how I compost my food waste in the easiest way possible. The first thing you need to know is what food can be composted and what food cannot be composted. Fruits and vegetables, rice, eggshells, flours, and any cooked food without oil, dairy, or meat is perfect for composting. However, any meat, dairy, oil, or bones should not be composted, mainly because the smells will attract unwanted pests to your compost. The second thing to do is pick a place for your compost. This will depend on your living situation. If you live in a house with a backyard, you can have an outdoor compost, either in a rotating bin or a big pile. If you live in an apartment, you can create a vermicomposting bin to keep inside. And of course, there are ways to minimize the smell so you won't even notice the compost is there. If neither of these options are viable for you, you can bring your food waste to a community garden or composting center. Some cities will even pick up your food waste separately from your trash and dispose of it properly for you. Contact your local government to learn more about the options your community provides. If you do not have a community garden and compost, start one. Composted soil is nutrient-rich and amazing for growing fruits and vegetables that you and your entire community can enjoy. If you decide to create your own compost, there are some guidelines to help make sure the food is being decomposed, especially if you're using an indoor compost. You'll want to layer your compost in 2 categories, green and brown. Greens are food waste, such as fruit and vegetable scraps and eggshells. These are typically more wet. Browns are drier, such as leaves, dried grass, and newspaper. Greens add nitrogen, which is crucial for microbial growth. Browns are rich in carbon and allow water and air to flow through your compost, creating ideal conditions for the microorganisms that decompose food. You want your first layer to be brown, then brown, and green, and so on. You want more brown than green so that your compost is wet but not soggy. And you want browns as your top layer to help lessen the smell. You can play around with the ratios as you continue to compost. Every week or so, you want to turn or rotate your compost pile to keep the structure aerated. If it smells bad, that means the food waste is not decomposing properly. Good compost will smell earthy and maybe a little bit sour. If your compost starts to smell bad, like rotting food, try adding more browns. While it may seem like a lot of information to learn, once you get started, you will find that composting is not that complicated. My family and I have tried many different methods over the years, from worm bins to rotating bins, and we finally found a simple and effective method that works best for us. I live in a house with a backyard, so my family composts using an outdoor composting pile. Composting starts in the kitchen, where we have a metal bucket with a lid built right into the counter next to our sink. As we cook, we throw our food waste into the bucket. Once full, we empty the container outside on our composting pile. We usually do this about once a week whenever the bin fills up. We then cover the food waste with a layer of dried leaves and sticks. This way, the pile gets layered in browns and greens. When my dad mows the lawn, we put the grass clippings on the compost pile as well. However, do not do this if your lawn is treated with chemical pesticides. By using a ratio of about 2-to-1 leaves to food, browns to green, our compost stays pretty much odorless. With this pile system, worms that are already living in the ground come to the compost to help decompose the waste, so there is no need to buy worms. Every few months, we start a new pile a few feet away from the old pile to allow the old pile to finish turning into soil. Once completely decomposed, we dig up the nutrient-rich, newly composted soil and spread it in our garden, where we grow vegetables and herbs. This soil allows our garden to flourish. Currently, we're growing potatoes, bell peppers, zucchini, green beans, tomatoes, eggplant, mint, and basil, and it is all made possible by the nutrient-rich soil we create in our own backyard from our own food waste. I know that fighting climate change is a daunting task, but there are everyday changes we can all make to help create a more sustainable world. Composting is perfect because it not only disposes your food waste, but it allows you to grow more food in your own yard. Composting does not have to be complicated. Just start separating your food waste and make a compost pile. Before you know it, you'll have beautiful, nutrient-rich soil with which to start your own garden.